Okay, well, we're going to quickly do the CORS level. And this is just the basic origin reflection attack where the lazy developer is going to basically set CORS to be the most permissive setting and then fail to lock it down after the fact. And so if you, so in this particular level, it implements a web page that dynamically goes out and retrieves an API key from a site. Now, the page, the My Account page, in fact, I'll go through here and show you this. So this is the site, and there's a My Account link, and you're given some login credentials. As part of this, when I log in, I'm actually going to inspect the requests that go through here. I'm going to log in. And as part of the login, you can see that you basically go out and you get an API key that's associated with your account, and you get that information. Now, the way this is implemented is if I do a view page source on this thing, you can see that this is a this is a same origin request effectively. So it's trying to get, it's running this. So initially, this API key in HTML, can you see that? Sorry, trying to make it so that you're not losing your eyesight like I am. So it's got this span. And so originally this thing is not filled in. And then there's a JavaScript script piece of code that says fetch the /account details route, include the credentials, and retrieve the result, the JSON result that includes the key, and then get the API key, and then set the inner text, get the API key, and then set the inner text of the element labeled API key, which is this thing. And so when you actually log in and you can see just for a brief instant that there's nothing included in that API key, and then eventually it fills itself in because there is this request going on in the background. Now here's the problem. Say I am malicious.com, and I also want to do this, and I want to fetch maybe this URI directly from malicious.com, and the victim is logged into this site. And if I trick the victim into doing this, then maybe I can pull out the API key. So that's the idea of this level. So I'm going to have you take a look at this AJAX request. That's basically what this fetch is AJAX request. We logged in, we went into the network, and we see that this is the JSON that comes back from that API that fills in that thing. And so you can see the API key is right there. Okay, are there any questions about that particular thing? So what I'm going to show you next is, well, I guess I should show you in here, is that there's this exploit server. So this is malicious.com is what the exploit server is. And on the exploit server, you have control over a route that the victim is going to visit. And in that route, you actually want to be able to exfiltrate the API key. Now, one of the things about this is that you're the malicious site, and you want to be able to get the key exposed in a place that you can access. And that's what this access log is. So what I can do is when the API key comes back, I can create another AJAX request to go and fetch the some URI that shows up in the access log. And you saw this earlier with some of your previous levels where you're trying to, when you're doing a blind OS command injection, or some of these other levels where you're exfiltrating. This is also some way to get the actual access back that includes the key. So that's the other thing I want to show you. So I'm gonna show you a script that solves this level straight up, but I wanted to go through that to show you what this vulnerability is. And so one of the things that I need here is the victim site. So the API server, the API key the API is hosted on this site, the vulnerable site. So I'm going to copy that and then put it here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to log in and I'm going to get the exploit link from the page. So this just parses out, because I'm going to upload the exploit to the server. I need to parse out this link, which I can pull by parsing the page. I'm going to parse the CSRF token because I'm going to basically log in. Well, this just shows you the vulnerability. So one of the things is that API, so the API key, that API has to be protected properly from a cross-origin request. And this is what we're going to check right now. And so what this does, this particular, I'm going to log in, and then I am going to see if I supply some bogus origin, I want to see whether or not this particular API will allow access to that random origin. It should deny this, right? It should say, you know, the only origins that I want are my own. But this is a, I'm going to update my headers to supply this origin header. And then I'm going to get this, the account details. And then I'm going to show what the response headers are and the response text is. And this should give me back my own API key, because I'm not trying to trick anyone here. I'm just trying to show you the mechanism. And so my API key in this case is this 6NGOGS. So that's basically what I'm going to do with this. I'll go through the exploit next. So that's the beginning of this program. So I'm going to run this program. And so I'm going to get that with the origin set to this bogus domain. And the headers that respond back, this says, it just echoes it back, which is a very common setting just to get something to work. And it's giving me the allow credentials is true. So I am going to allow the victim to send the victim's cookie, and that will get me the API key. I need this in order to get me the API key. It has to include the credentials to get that particular user's API key. And then you see the response. I actually get my own API key, and it's got the right value. So then I'm going to show you the next part of this, because the next part is I am going to upload some malicious content that the victim is going to periodically access, and then it will exfiltrate that victim's key. And so this is JavaScript for performing a request. I'm going to say create a new request, register an onload listener that I execute. And this listener is basically defined here. And we'll talk about, I mean, this is actually going to do the exfiltration. And then I'm just going to go and get the account details. And I'm going to specify that I want to get this with the credentials, and then I'm going to hit send. So as soon as the victim visits a page that's got this hosted, it's going to go and get the account details. And this thing should be denied. But because the origin header is just reflected back, this is actually allowed. And then when the thing loads, it's basically going to go to the exploit server. So again, this is a relative path. So it's going to send the user back to the exploit server and access this route, this /log route. And then it's going to include the key that it got in the response. So this .response text is basically the response from what it got with this URL request. So I'm going to upload that, and I guess I'll just straight up deliver it to the victim. And by delivering it to the victim, it's going to access the log entry with the key, and then you can go to the log file, parse the log file out, find that the API key for the administrator shows up, and then you can submit the solution, and then solve the level. So that's the rest of this script. So let me continue, and then I'll put this over here so you can show this. We can show this thing solving. So this is, I'm going to upload this thing. And then I'm going to examine the logs at the exploit server. So here, I can refresh this. And then you can see I delivered it to the victim here with Python requests. And then you can see the victim then comes and with its, because I exfiltrated the API key, so the username was administrator, and the API key is all the way over here. So this is the API key, sorry. And then you can use that key to solve the level, which is what I'll do here. So it parses out the admin entry, and then it it splits the entry into its fields, and then you can see the key show up here. So that's what the key is. And then I just submit this and solve the level.